Episode 24, The Lighthouse's Keeper. The morning light did little to warm the cold weight in Evelyn's chest. Clara's absence was a void neither Evelyn nor Eli dared speak about as they made their way out of the forest. Every shadow seemed to whisper her name, every rustle of leaves felt like a memory of her sacrifice. Evelyn clutched the pouch containing Loria's essence, its faint warmth reminding her of the stakes. "We need to keep moving," she said, her voice firm but strained. "The lighthouse sanctum is ahead. Clara gave us this chance. We can't waste it." Eli nodded, his expression hardening. "Do we even know what to expect? The sanctums keep throwing something new at us, and now," his voice faltered, but he pushed forward. "Now it's just us." The map Elias Ward had given them marked the next sanctum, several miles from Black Hollow's town center, near the cliffs overlooking the sea. The lighthouse, once a beacon of safety for sailors, had long been abandoned. Stories swirled around it, disappearances, eerie lights, and the faint sound of bells echoing over the water. They traveled silently for most of the day, stopping briefly to eat and catch their breath. In the early evening, the lighthouse became visible as they approached the cliffs. It stood tall and imposing, its stone surface weathered by time and salt air. Its shadow stretched across the jagged rocks below, and the waves crashing against the cliffs sounded like an ominous drumbeat. Evelyn stopped at the base of the lighthouse, staring up at it. "This is it. The sanctum must be inside." Eli tightened his grip on the crowbar he'd scavenged earlier. "Let's just hope whatever keeper is in there isn't as temperamental as Loria." Inside the lighthouse, the air was heavy and thick with the scent of damp stone and decay. Their footsteps echoed eerily as they climbed the spiraling staircase. The only light came from Evelyn's pendant and the faint glow of Loria's essence. About halfway up, they encountered the first sign that the sanctum wasn't as abandoned as it seemed. A series of intricate carvings covered the walls, symbols and runes that seemed to pulse faintly, as though alive. Evelyn ran her fingers over one, her skin tingling at the touch. "These are wards," she said, her voice hushed. "They're meant to keep intruders out." Whoever this keeper was, they were serious about protecting the sanctum. Eli frowned, looking around. "Then why haven't we hit a trap yet? Feels like something should have tried to kill us by now." As if in answer, a low, resonant sound echoed through the tower, a deep, haunting toll, like a bell struck from far away. It reverberated through the walls, vibrating the air around them. "What was that?" Eli asked, gripping the crowbar tighter. Evelyn's expression darkened. "I don't know, but I think it's the sanctum reacting to us." They continued upward, each step feeling heavier, as if the lighthouse itself resisted their presence. The bell tolls grew louder and more frequent, each one sending a wave of unease through their bodies. At the top of the staircase, they found a heavy wooden door etched with more runes. It seemed to hum with latent energy, a barrier, both physical and magical. "This must be it," Evelyn said, reaching out to touch the door. The moment her fingers brushed the wood, the tolling bell ceased. The silence that followed was deafening, pressing down on them like a physical weight. Then the door creaked open on its own, revealing a circular chamber bathed in a faint, silvery light. In the center stood a pedestal, and atop it rested a glass orb filled with swirling mist. Evelyn stepped into the room cautiously, her eyes scanning for any signs of danger. Eli followed, keeping close to her side. Before they could approach the pedestal, the light in the room shifted, coalescing into a humanoid form. The figure was tall and gaunt, with hollow eyes that seemed to pierce through them. Its voice was a low, echoing whisper that filled the chamber. "You dare enter my sanctum?" it said. Evelyn squared her shoulders. "We're here to protect the pact. The silent circle is trying to break the seals. We need your help." The figure tilted its head, its gaze unyielding. "You awaken the sanctums, but you carry the taint of their presence. You bring danger to what I have guarded for centuries." Eli stepped forward, his voice firm. "We didn't ask for this. We're trying to stop them from destroying everything. If you don't help us, the circle will take your essence, and all of this, your sanctum, your sacrifices, it'll mean nothing." The figure's expression darkened. You speak boldly for one who does not understand the cost. Very well. If you seek my aid, you must prove your worth. Face the trial of the tide. Before they could respond, the room shifted. The floor fell away beneath them, and they plunged into darkness. When Evelyn opened her eyes, she was standing on a rocky shoreline. The sea stretched out before her, dark and roiling, its waves crashing violently against the rocks. The lighthouse loomed in the distance, its light extinguished. Eli stood beside her, looking equally disoriented. "Where are we?" A voice echoed around them, the same whispering tone as the figure in the sanctum. "The tide judges all. Only those who endure its wrath may claim my essence." The ground beneath them trembled as shadowy figures rose from the water. They were humanoid in shape, but grotesque, their limbs elongated and twisted, their faces featureless. Evelyn drew her pendant, its light flaring to life. "Stay close," she shouted, as the creatures began to advance. The first wave of creatures attacked with surprising speed, their movements jerky, but forceful. Evelyn swung the pendant in wide arcs, its light burning away the shadows that dared to come too close. Eli wielded his crowbar with brute strength, smashing through the creatures with gritted determination. But for every shadow they destroyed, another took its place. The tide seemed endless, the waves of creatures relentless. Evelyn's arms ached as she fought, her movements growing slower. "We can't keep this up," she panted. Eli glanced around, his eyes landing on the lighthouse. "The light. It's a beacon, maybe it can help us." Evelyn nodded, and together, they fought their way toward the distant structure. The creatures swarmed around them, their inhuman cries filling the air, but the sight of the lighthouse spurred them forward. As they reached the base of the lighthouse, Evelyn placed her hand on its cold stone surface. The pendant in her hand flared, and the light from the tower ignited, cutting through the darkness. The creatures shrieked and dissolved into nothingness, the tide retreating as the light spread across the shoreline. The voice of the keeper echoed again, softer this time. "You have endured the tide. You are worthy." The shoreline faded, and they found themselves back in the sanctum. The figure stood before them, its expression inscrutable. It extended a hand toward the pedestal, where the glass orb now glowed with a brilliant light. "Take it," the keeper said. "Guard it well, for it is a fragment of the balance. And beware, the tide is relentless. It will come again." Evelyn stepped forward and took the orb, its light merging with Loria's essence in the pouch. The weight of their task grew heavier, but so did their resolve. As they left the lighthouse, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the cliffs in shadow. The silent circle would come for them again, but with each sanctum, they claimed, their strength grew. The fight was far from over, but for now, they had won. End of episode 24.